Absolutely delighted to be joined by QMS's Chair Kate Rowell at the Royal Highland Show, one of the landmark events of the farming calendar for UK farmers and especially Scottish farmers. Kate, what does the Royal Highlands Show mean to yourself? It must fill you with pride to see all the farmers and everybody coming together.
Absolutely, it's just the highlight of the year. It really is. It's something that we work towards for months, really, as QMS, and as a farmer myself, it's something that's always been a highlight of my life. In fact, I've been a life member since I was about 2 when my gran joined me. So yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, and what a stunning day we've got today. And looking out onto the main ring with, at the moment, the heavy horses in there, it's just a fantastic sight. So yeah, fantastic.
This is my second show, and I've fallen in love with it. I've fallen in love with the people, with the competitors, with the life. It's just, like you say, it's just a real celebration of what farming is, and its cultural heritage and connection that means so much to so many people.
Exactly, and you come here, you see people that you haven't seen since last Highland Show. You bump into people that you've been meeting every year since you were a child. It's just wonderful to see everybody. I can't walk more than 2 or 3 metres without stopping to say hello to somebody, and the only downside is there's so many unfinished conversations, because you start a conversation and then someone else comes along that you start speaking to. So, and then at the end of the 4 days, I remember a lot of conversations and I can't remember who said what. So yeah, it's just like a whirlwind.
And we're speaking on day 1 of the Royal Highland Show, and QMS has hosted an excellent breakfast session this morning. Could you discuss some of the topics that were raised?
Yeah, so at the session this morning, we had our Cabinet Secretary for Rural Affairs, Mary Goujon, with us. So I gave an address and then she responded to that, gave her address. Our big issue at the moment is the declining livestock numbers right across the UK, but particularly here in Scotland, obviously. And we've done some modelling work at QMS to show that if that decline continues, what it's really going to mean is an increase in imports coming in from other countries, and that is something that we are strongly opposed to, when the potential here in Scotland is to fill that gap ourselves. We can add to our economic prosperity in Scotland, we can help with all the biodiversity, environmental gains that we know livestock can bring, and we can help protect our rural communities. And we really are trying to amplify that message, and it was really, really good today to hear Ms Goujon agree with us on that, on those points.
I think it all relates as well to, there was a recent report, wasn't there, from the Climate Change Committee to Scotland with numerous recommendations about reducing livestock numbers, reducing meat and dairy consumption. It was something that was very, very worrying and concerning for farmers, wasn't it? And you raised it as well, didn't you, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. And we responded to that. It's really disappointing that the Climate Change Committee aren't taking into account things like food security, things like protection of rural areas and heritage, and the reality that meat consumption is not going to fall as a nation. You know, we are a growing nation. The demand for meat is only going to grow, and the reality is that if we don't supply that ourselves, it will come in from other countries. And if it comes in from other countries, we can't guarantee the animal welfare standards, or the quality, or the traceability in some cases, or the environmental impact that raising those animals has had. Whereas in Scotland, we know that we have lower emissions, that we have that environmental biodiversity piece that livestock contributes so strongly to, and we know that we want to produce it here and we can do it really well here. And on top of that, we can add to the Scottish economy by doing that.
And on the point of the value that agriculture and farming provides to so many people across society, there was another kind of report from yourselves, wasn't there, Kate, earlier this year about the need to increase that food security, and if farmers invested to grow their beef herds. Could you tell us a bit about the importance of that?
The modelling work we've done, which is based on the realistic consumption trends and the ONS figures for population growth, show that there is going to be a growing gap in the amount of beef that we have in this country, which will ultimately be filled by imports if we can't fulfil that ourselves. Now, in Scotland, that equates to around about 22,000 tonnes of beef that we are going to be short of. And to produce that ourselves, we would need to have an extra 79,000 breeding cows on the ground between now and 2030, which sounds like a really unattainable figure. It sounds like a huge number, but actually when you break that down into herds, what it means in reality on the ground is that if every cattle herd kept 2 or 3 extra cows every year for the next 3 or 4 years, we are going to get to that number. So it's not unattainable, it's not undoable, and it's something that we're encouraging farmers to do. And what we're trying to do is just show them that the confidence is there in the market and that people do still want to eat beef. In fact, the demand is growing across the world, and that they should invest now if they can, because it's going to be worth it in the long term.
And I think to add to that, I think farmers, they'll need support, and they'll need a clear sense of direction from above and below. But we heard some positive news from Marie Goujon, didn't we, regarding what the government are due to say in regards to the report from the Climate Change Committee.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we haven't seen the detail, but what the Cabinet Secretary said in her remarks today was that the Scottish Government was on the ground between now and 2030, which sounds like a really unattainable figure. It sounds like a huge number, but actually when you break that down into herds, what it means in reality on the ground is that if every cattle herd kept 2 or 3 extra cows every year for the next 3 or 4 years, we are going to get to that number. So it's not unattainable, it's not undoable, and it's something that we're encouraging farmers to do. And what we're trying to do is just show them that the confidence is there in the market and that people do still want to eat beef. In fact, the demand is growing across the world, and that they should invest now if they can, because it's going to be worth it in the long term.
And I think to add to that, I think farmers, they'll need support, and they'll need a clear sense of direction from above and below. But we heard some positive news from Marie Goujon, didn't we, regarding what the government are due to say in regards to the report from the Climate Change Committee.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we haven't seen the detail, but what the Cabinet Secretary said in her remarks today was that the Scottish Government would not be following the Climate Change Committee's advice to reduce livestock numbers. And that is such a huge vote of confidence for the sector here in Scotland, and it should be seen as that by farmers and crofters right across Scotland, because it means that the government do recognise what we've been saying, and they do recognise that potential problem with imports, and they are behind us in trying to address that.
Excellent. And today also marked a very special point to launch a new campaign called Meeting, MEATIANG, Meeting Our Potential. And there's some very positives that have come from that, Kate. Could you explain what it is and how farmers can get involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. The basis of this work is the modelling that I described, that shows that we need more cattle on the ground. But also backing that is some consumer research that we've been doing, which has showed that over 3/4 of people in Scotland are seeking out Scottish red meat, beef, lamb and pork. Even if it's more expensive than imports, they want to buy Scottish. So that's really, really strong encouragement from the population as a whole and from Scotland in general. And what we hope that does is give confidence to the farming sector to invest in suckler cows. We have seen a decline, as you know, but we want to turn that round. And what we have on the website now, what we launched today, was our new Meeting Our Potential hub, which is going to have a toolkit and case studies and a roadmap, and basically help out there for anyone who sees this campaign and thinks, well, maybe I could do that, maybe that's something I can do, but I'm not quite sure what it involves. We're going to have signposting, we're going to have hopefully partners on there that we can signpost farmers to help with, and then we're going to launch further stages. So the first stage is productivity to help with the sort of business decisions. Then we're going to have profitability and growth as well to hopefully get to that point where we're increasing cattle numbers back to 2010 levels is what our target is. So yeah, back to the future.
And I think it'll be important as well in that kind of journey that we're all going on, that it'll be important to get the consumers on side, because I think from my conversations with farmers, probably one of the things that annoys them most is when you go to a supermarket and there's beef and pork and lamb, and it's not Scottish, it's from New Zealand, Australia, and initiatives like yours is going to hopefully in the future help promote the benefits of Scottish meat, red meat to consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we want consumers to understand is what the logos mean. The Scotch beef, the Scotch lamb, specially selected pork. That when they see that in the supermarket or the butchers as well, they can know that that meat has been born, reared and processed in Scotland. It's never left the country, so it's absolutely local. It's and behind that we have our high standards, our quality assured standards, which really look at the high animal welfare we have here, the traceability and the real talent of farmers in producing this wonderful quality meat. So if they look for those logos, that they can be absolutely assured that that's what they're getting. It might say on other packs where things are produced from in small letters, but if you see the big blue logos, you know that overrides anything else. You don't have to look any further.
Excellent. And just very finally, I think there is a lot of uncertainty in across UK farming at the moment, but there's also a lot to be positive about, and lots that we can look forward to in the future.
There really is.
Yeah.
I mean, the opportunities for red meat around the world are staggering. When you go abroad, we go to trade shows, there is a real lack of protein out there, there's a real lack of quality protein out there, and we are inundated with other countries who want to import our meat because they know how good it is. So the opportunities out there are absolutely immense, and when you get to climate change, you know, farmers are the only ones who can save the planet. They're the ones who can sequester, and I didn't mention, but that is another issue we have with the Climate Change Committee's views, is that they don't look at that sequestration. They don't look at all the good stuff that farmers can do, and in reality we are some of the only ones who can do that. So what we're calling for is not to say, you know, climate change isn't important. It absolutely is, but we need to be recognised for the good things that we're doing, and the fact that farmers at the end of the day can save the planet.
I love that quote, Kate. I hope the Royal Highland Show is another success for yourself and QMS. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.